gamers, been wondering how you can support Big Joey's newly unemployed lifestyle in real-life material form? Well, look no further. Introducing Big Joey stickers. Now just $5 on teespring.com. Stick them on your fridge, stick them on your mailbox, stick them on your neighbor. Once you buy them, it's no longer our problem. We don't care! But hurry, while supplies last, make sure to get your very own Big Joey stickers at teespring.com/stores/Big Joey's Plague Apparel. Man, do I hate myself. Alright, so I think I was wrong about the GRU. I think a lot of us heavy mains were actually wrong about the GRU. How so, you might ask? Well, let me explain. Recently, just off of a whim, I started playing with the GRU a bit. You know, just to switch it up from the typical Holiday Punch or Fist of Steel combo I normally run. And then something weird happened. I kept playing with the GRU. And then I kept playing with the GRU. And I kept playing with the GRU. And like, seriously, get these things off me. I can't stop playing with the GRU. And I think here's the reason why. I found out that the GRU is actually still really good. In fact, it's gotten to the point now where I think the GRU is actually criminally underestimated. Like, if I could go back to my heavy weapons tier list and change where I place the GRU, I genuinely would. But what recently convinced me that the GRU is so good, you might ask? Well, before I get to that, let me give a little backstory here. See, for a long time, the gloves of running urgently were practically heavy meta. Between most heavy mains you'd meet, they'd typically always be running either the Fist of Steel or the GRU. But that was back before the Jungle Inferno update, before the stats were changed. See, before the Jungle Inferno, the stats were as follows. When weapon is active, the wearer has a 30% faster move speed. However, with that, you'd also have a 25% damage penalty, a 50% slower holster time, and worst of all, the mark of death over your head for however long you were going to be using this weapon. And to be honest with you, I think some heavies really forgot just how bad that last stat was. See, for example, a soldier is marked for death when they use the escape plan, which was similar to the pre-existing Jungle Inferno GRU. But a huge difference between a soldier using the escape plan and a heavy using the GRU is that a soldier is incredibly more mobile than a heavy and doesn't have to rev down their entire weapon before being able to switch. So basically, before the Jungle Inferno update dropped, by the time a lot of these heavies had revved down their miniguns and attempted to run with the old GRU, they were already a huge target, and now with the mark of death over their head, anything that hit them was going to at least mini-crit. But with all these obvious downsides, what made heavies want to use the GRU in the first place then? Well, simple. They offer the promise of every heavy main's dream, being able to go faster, being able to get back to your team quicker, barely ever having to leave the battle, and finally not having to run so unbearably slow. But unfortunately, that just wasn't what Valve ever really had in mind for the heavy. See, Valve knows how powerful the heavy is, and with 300 health and a weapon that can mow down enemies in seconds, there had to be some sort of nerf done to this character, otherwise the heavy class as we know it would simply overpower everything. And that's why they made the character so slow, so the heavy would be easier to fight against. Don't believe me? Well, then look no further than the stat changes given to the GRU during the Jungle Inferno update. On the Team Fortress 2 official page, the stat changes read as follows. Speed, lack of, is used to balance the heavy's high health, overheal, and damage output. While we still believe it's okay to have a class of items that increases heavy's movement speed, players have been able to easily bypass the existing negatives. Then, following these notes, the developers added a health drain mechanic to the GRU that essentially drains 10 health per second while equipped. This was to discourage heavies that use the GRU to run back to front lines at quicker than normal speeds. Now, you would gain the health back over time, but you'd have to make sure not to take any enemy damage along the way. Also, you wouldn't want to keep equipping and unequipping this item too much anymore, as doing so would just accelerate the drain rate. So then to make up for these new nerfs to the GRU, the team removed the Mark for Death effect and the 25% damage penalty. But to many heavies, this simply just wasn't good enough. Their days of running unharmed from spawn to front lines were gone, and this left a sour taste in the mouths of many heavy mains everywhere. But did these changes really ruin the weapon? I mean, did it really? Or maybe were some of us just overreacting to a mechanic we weren't used to yet? Well, I'm gonna vote that no, it actually didn't. In fact, I'd go a step further and say that now the GRU is practically buffed, and I'll explain why. Number one, the health drain is hardly a nerf. Sure, it drains your health pretty quickly, but in my opinion, running at 100% speed for short bouts of time and then just having to unequip for a while to regain that health is far better than just running back to front lines at heavy's normal slow pace of 77% speed. On top of that, now if you get caught by an enemy while using these, at least you won't get mini-crit by literally everything they shoot at you. Thus why I call it the escape plan on steroids. And by the way, the health drain mechanic will be even less noticeable to you if you have a medic healing you. With a medic's overheal, you can strategically switch the GRU on and off while running back to the point, and still have at least a full 300 health before switching off. And of course, then there's always the best case scenario, that perhaps your team will have an engineer that's built a teleporter by spawn, and then you don't even have to use the GRU to get back to the front lines. Okay, so now that I've dispelled the fears of the GRU's one solitary nerf, let's talk about more reasons why the current day GRU is still so good. Now, I know the idea of Valve taking away the 25% damage penalty didn't seem like that big of a deal, but do you actually realize how much of a damage difference that is? See, before the Jungle Inferno update, the GRU only regularly dealt about 49 damage per hit, but now, post Jungle Inferno, the GRU regularly deals up to 65 damage a hit. That means that just 2 punches from this melee can already kill 4 of the 9 classes by itself. But what about when one of those hits crits? Well, you might be surprised to find out that a critical hit from the GRU actually deals 3 times the amount of damage a normal hit would. So add 65 damage with 195 now, and you've actually taken out nearly all the classes with just 2 hits. And believe me, if you normally play casual with these, you will crit with these often. Now, another big reason why I like the GRU so much now is because it actually seems to be one of the only answers a heavy has towards fighting a pocketed pair using anti-bullet Vaccinator. See, for a long time I've complained about how Heavy has virtually no answer for the anti-bullet Vaccinator because all of Heavy's weapons are of course bullet-based, or they're simply melees that are too slow to be effective in that kind of battle. But with the GRU, you actually are fast enough to do something about it. So here's what you do. If the enemy team has a vac medic, ask someone on your team to go medic and specifically use the stock Uber. Once you run up on the anti-bullet pocket pair again, tell your medic to pull the Uber. From there, just charge forward invincibly and punch them. And punch them, and punch them again. Unload your punches like some kind of UFC fight gone horribly wrong. And if the medic's heal target runs away, by the way, just chase down their medic and beat them down instead. Cause you know why? You know why? Cause there's no vac resistance for punches, baby. But lastly, one of the best reasons I can think of for why the GRU is still so valuable a melee is because there's certain jumps as Heavy that you can only make if you're using the GRU. Like, for instance, did you know that you could make this jump on Dust Ball? Or this jump on Upward? How about this spot on Steel? Well, normally you couldn't, but with the GRU, you can. Making these kind of jumps into areas where your enemy wouldn't expect you to be is a great strategy for ambushing and can make for insane vantage points on the enemy. So the GRU comes in great for this stealthy kind of Heavy, as well as holding a great defense. And by the way, if you want to learn more vantage jumps like this, I actually put out an entire video on just that for attack defend maps not too long ago. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll have it linked in the comments below. But anyways, that about wraps this video up, you guys. Hopefully I changed some of your minds about the usefulness of this weapon and you'll consider giving it another try. I certainly know I have, and I've been having a lot of fun chasing and beating down casual players with my GRU set. Just as a reminder, by the way, I've been streaming every week now on Twitch, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST. So if you want to see some live Heavy action, feel free to stop by anytime. We usually have a lot of fun. And until next time, this was Big Joey! Later.